what is the difference between a person's self-worth and their ability or competence?
All right. This also leads to the question of self-worth and self-confidence. Right? First of all, I can only be confident about things that are within my capability to do. Right? Things which are beyond my capability, there's no way I can feel self-confident about that. Ask me how to repair the engine in my car. I can't be self-confident about it because I don't know anything about it. Right? But things that are within my ability to do, right, I should have a feeling that I can do it if I put my mind to it. Right? But don't you have to know what your skills are, right? And not fool yourself to think that you should have skills that you don't have. Right? Self-worth goes beyond that. Self-worth goes into the awareness that we get up in the morning and we say, Hashem, you have given me a neshama, and the neshama is part of Hashem himself. The expression of the Torah is that Hashem blew a breath of life into Adam Rishon. Right? And the Zohar says when a person exhales, right, he is obviously exhaling something from within himself. And if the Torah uses the expression that Hashem exhaled a breath of life into the Rishon, it means that Hashem has exhaled a part of himself into man. Right? So I have a part of Hashem within me. No denying that. So no matter whatever happens, no matter whether I achieve 100 on an exam or 50, right? That has nothing to do with my self-worth. Right? My self-worth is because I am a bearer of an neshama. Now, the fact that I have that neshama should put some demands on me to do what the neshama wants. And the beautiful expression was that Rabbi Yisrael Salant said, I know that my mind is equal to 1,000 other minds, but therefore my responsibility is 1,000 times that great. Right? So knowing oneself and knowing that we have this divine neshama within us gives us a great self-worth, and it has an application in halacha. Right? The halacha is that if somebody tells you, go out and kill that person, right? And if you're not going to kill him, I'll shoot you. If you're not going to kill him, do what I say, I'll kill you. What do you do? The halacha is you have to allow yourself to be killed because you're not allowed to kill another person. Why? Because the Gemara says, who tells you that you're more deserving than the other person? Who says that your life is more precious than the other person? Okay, and I'll take this example. Here is a person who is a top scientist. He is able to discover many advances in medicine. He's able to save many lives. He's a tremendous boon to the community. Right? Then there's another person who is a ne'er-do-well. Right? He's a degenerate person. Right? He's a burden to the community. Right? Everybody wishes he weren't around. Right? Somebody comes over to this great scientist and says, look, that guy, he's a worthless parasite on the community. I want you to go kill him. And if you don't kill him, I'm going to kill you. What's the halacha? The halacha is he has to allow himself to be killed. Why? What makes you think that your life is more precious than his? What do you mean what makes you think that my life? This guy is a boon to mankind. Right? He's a person who benefits thousands of people with his medical discoveries. This other person is a burden to the community. He's a parasite. Of course we know whose life is worth more. That's the way we look at it, but that's not the way Hashem looks at it. Hashem looks at it that you can never judge the worth of another person. Right? So I have an intrinsic value because I have a neshama. Right? Whether I am good, whether I am bad, that's other issues. Right? But never have a feeling of low self-worth. And those of us who have seen people who been the lowest of the low, and the potentials that they have for greatness is enormous. Let me just tell this little incident. Back in 1990, I partnered with the prisoner rehabilitation program in Yerushalayim. Most of the prisoners in Israel, as well as here, are there because of drug-related offenses, drug-related crimes. And so I was going to show the government that if you put your money to rehabilitation, you can actually save money, right? Rather than dealing with it with prison. So we opened up a little rehab in Beersheba, which is now defunct, and we got a group in of 8 ex-convicts. And as usual, I start telling them about, if you really knew your own value, if you really knew how beautiful you were, you would not do anything to harm yourself. There's a natural instinct not to damage something that you know is beautiful. So this one guy, Yair, interrupts me. He says, what are you talking about? He says, I'm 34 years old. 16 of those 34 years old have been in jail. I've been in prison 8 different times. Right? And when I get out of prison, nobody's going to give me a job. And when my family hears that I'm going to be released from prison, they go bananas. Right? They don't want me out of prison. They'd rather I'd be dead. So where am I supposed to get self-esteem from? So I said to him, Yair, did you ever walk by a jewelry store and see beautiful diamonds in the window? They're scintillating, they're gorgeous, they may be worth millions of dollars. You have any idea what they looked like when they came out of the diamond mine? If you took an uncut diamond that was brought out of the diamond mine, it looks like a worthless, dirty piece of glass. And if you didn't know better, you'd throw it away. But there's a maven who knows which diamond, which is not a worthwhile piece of glass, and he takes it and he sends it to the processing plant, and out comes a 10-carat beautiful diamond worth $10 million. So I said to Yair, look, I don't know nothing about diamonds, but I do know something about people. I know something about neshomas. I said, Yair, you have a beautiful neshoma. Now, it's been covered up with garbage for the last 34 years. Right? But if you stay here, we'll help you discover your neshama. He stayed. He stayed for 3 months, and then he went to a halfway transition house for another 8 months. Came out, he got himself a job. The woman who takes care of the administrator of the halfway house got a call from a family that their elderly mother died, and she left them over an apartment full of furniture that they have no use for. So they want to give it to the halfway house. So she thanked them. Then she calls up Yair and she says, Yair, we got this donation of furniture, but I have no way of getting it over. Can you help us? He says, no problem. I'll get a truck and we'll bring it over. 2 days later, he calls her up and he says, Annette, I got a truck and I'm by the place. And it's a waste of time to bring that junk over. It's all dilapidated old stuff. We have no use for it. She says, Yair, I don't want to disappoint the family. They want to make this donation. Bring the stuff over and maybe we'll be able to salvage some of it. Okay. So he loads all this junk on the truck, and he goes over to the halfway house that's on the 2nd floor of a building, and he's schlepping all this junk up the stairs. And as he schleps up this old sofa, an envelope falls out with 5,000 shkalim. Right? Now, Yair used to break into a house for 20 shkalim. Now he's got 5,000 shkalim in his hands. Nobody in the world knows that this money exists. Right? What's the natural tendency? Finders keepers. He calls Annette and he says, I found an envelope of 5,000 shkalim in it. She says, that's their mother's money. Call them up and tell them. So he called them up, and later on I was Chanukah Habayis of the halfway house, and then tells me this story about Yair. So I go over to Yair and I said, yeah, do you remember the first time? Right? When you said you had no reason to have self-esteem? And I told you about the diamonds. Right? I said, do you realize that many people who never would take a nickel from someone else But if they find an envelope with $5,000 come out, they put it in their pocket. And with your history, you were able to report that and turn it over, right? That's the diamond I was talking about. Next time I came to Seoul, Annette called me up. She said, "You've got to come to the halfway house." I came to the halfway house, and she showed me that on the front door there's a plaque that says, "Mifal Letishat Yahalomim," a center for polishing diamonds. Right? Now, Yair was a criminal. 16 of his 34 years were spent in jail. Right? And yet was able to find money in return, which many other people wouldn't do. We don't have an idea about the value of a Jewish neshama, and that includes our own. Right? We ought to, when we said, well, kind of neshama, the question is, why don't we get out of bed and start dancing? That we're the recipients of a godly neshama, right? And if we feel that way about ourselves, we can begin to feel that way about others, about our husbands, about our wives, about our children, about our parents, about everybody else.